research that I do here at the University of Montreal. Thank you. Take it away. Thanks, Michael. That was a wonderful presentation. I enjoyed watching it. Oh, I'm waiting for slides. Oh, wonderful. So my name is Rashid, Rashid Mushkani. I'm a doctoral candidate at the University of Montreal. The work that today I'm going to present is part of my doctoral research and also a team of researchers who are working to make cities more inclusive with using new technologies, innovations. So, in a way, I'm affiliated with Mila, which is Quebec's AI Institute, and a UNESCO chair from all landscape. Today, I'm going to have a brief description of two of our tools that we're working. First tool that I'm going to talk about is predictive AI model, which is designed to predict the qualities of public spaces. And the second tool which I'm going to talk about is a generative model, which generate conceptual designs of public spaces, fine-tuned or aligned to the context of the city of Montreal. For the sake of the problem, what is the problem? The problem itself is, as we're dealing with global warming and different challenges that today's new reality faces, is our understanding of the gender is different from basically mid-20th century when most of the cities were constructed, or most of the urban spaces that we inhabit today has been formulated in a way, or the great expansion that happened. With respect to immigration, the cities are more diverse today, which this begs the question of how inclusive are the spaces, how inclusive are the urban spaces actually. According to a citizen of the city of Montreal on a wheelchair, she says, I do like public spaces, but I can't enjoy them as much as able people can. So when we want to assess city from different viewpoints, different perspectives, how a city performs, that is the real deal of a reality that we face. So for the sake of this challenge, there are opportunities that AI provides, or also different imagery that nowadays we have. Nowadays we have abundant urban space imageries that we can train AI models on, and we can assess the quality of urban spaces. So once we know if the urban space is performing well, then we might be able to address it as that. If we don't know if this urban space is working well for someone with a wheelchair, then we might not be able to address the problem that's going. So, and this vast collection of space imagery provides us with the opportunity to assess the spaces beyond context, and also post occupancy or before occupancy. Before occupancy, it means when even we are not at the design stage, we can assess its inclusion, if it's inclusive for all, or if it isn't. Along these lines, we try to do some participatory work with the citizens of Montreal. By citizens of Montreal, I mean people who have diverse identity markers, from elderly community, from disabled community groups, people from minorities, women, LGBTQ plus, any diverse identity markers that we were able to capture to our project, and we were able to have around 20 participants. So we did workshops with them in order to come up with participatory AI models to be able to assess the qualities of public spaces of the city. So we then these are a bit about the method that we use. We try to divide the different elements of spaces of the city, making it more easy for AI models to learn. For example, removing the sky, which might not be relevant, or different testing methods of seeing which elements of space actually affect the user's perception of inclusion in the space. And the first model, the predictive model that we trained, was had around 90% predictive accuracy rate, which were able to capture quite a set of diverse perspectives in its prediction of scores. And these were some of the results that how the AI model find. These are the spaces, the example of spaces that the AI model was labeling as more inclusive compared to these spaces which are not inclusive. These are the initial basic findings. And what AI says with respect to elements of the street space is it says that sidewalk itself, how the sidewalk is constructed, and the building that surrounds the sidewalk has a huge impact on the citizens' perception of its inclusion or exclusion. And this is more kind of a landscape of how different identity markers will find spaces in the city of Montreal, inclusive or exclusive. The School 4, which was the AI all trained on, was like highly inclusive space. But you see that the most of the identity groups find it in the middle, but somehow some people find it less inclusive. For example, young male people. These are different perceptions that we were able to map and to use AI. And sorry. Yeah, this is a heat map of the city of Montreal, which on the final version we were able to generate, which shows the blue points and whitish points, or the points that are found to be more inclusive spaces across the city, compared to the spaces which are more yellowish ones, which are less inclusive or less welcoming, which are mostly street spaces that are dull and trained for cars, constructed for cars. So Nick, what's next for this project is we need to have more images, more cleaner images, because as you say, as there are a lot of images, but most of the images are in a way distorted or biased images towards what the company has produced the image as deal with, and more data points, because right now the AI model that has predicted this has been trained on 60 data points across the city of. So what we're hoping for actually is once we have been able to produce a heat map of the inclusive or exclusive space of the city of Montreal, now we will be able to take measures to make those spaces that are less inclusive by the city to make it more. So next, the second case, which I'm presenting, the second tool is more along the lines of generative AI, which how generative AI can use to facilitate consultation process, community engagement throughout the design process. For this, of course, as you can see, the consultation. This is a brief description of how consultation process is done at the City of Montreal level. First, there's an information session or any project. There's an information session that they present the project to citizens, and then many architects and professionals and city officials, and then there will be a platform where citizens can enroll their name and their proposal if they have something, and afterwards there will be another discussion session. So and then the whole consultation ends up with a report that has been produced. So mainly most of the consultations at the city of Montreal that happens at the level of OCPM, which is Office Consultation Publique of the Montreal. Sorry, it's quite loud. But this video, in a way, summarizes how consultation landscape. So this was a Hollywood-style trailer of how the landscape of consultation looked like, actually existing context. But what we're doing is we're trying to introduce a new tool in that landscape. So what we did again the same approach of asking citizens to let's visualize politics. We did workshops with citizens with same diversity groups that we continued working from the first tool. We were able to come up with a bunch of prompts, so-called structured prompts, and then we were able to generate a data set which then citizens themselves are stated based on their preferences of like what kind of spaces they find more inclusive compared to what spaces they find less inclusive. And these are some of the results of the generative AI. Like this is the image on the left shows prior fine-tuning, which is the raw image, and the image on the right is post fine-tuning, which is we try to move the behavior of AI or like make it understand what inclusion means and with respect to diversity point of view. Like that image, which is on the right, it's the same prompt that we use, but we were able to make it more nuanced, like the visualization of the space, more understandable, more visible to the there are other results as well. For example, in this space, which is quite inclusive meditation corner in the zero area, which is the prompt itself. But you see, prior from tuning, the results are a bit more. The space transition is more not welcoming to people who are wheelchair. But like there are issues with how space has been enclosed. But when you see at the full fine-tuning version, you might be able to find like smooth transition between the surfaces and also more perforated enclosure to the space itself. These are some basic preliminary results of how the move. And next, what we envision is to make a tool out of it, a platform out of it, to facilitate consultation processes. Like when we do consultations with the citizens, we employ such a platform and we ask them to visualize whatever ideas you have with respect to spaces that you want to inhabit or you want to, or the project is dealing. And you can deal with the different elements of within the image and you will address it and you will include or exclude it. And you can also, you might also be able to participate offline, by offline I mean like distance-based and asynchronous format, while a barrier to participation in consultation processes is like it's often an inaccessible venue for some people. So you might be able to participate in a consultation session from your home using the tool. But these are like the visions for this tool. We're not right there, but so what you're seeking for is partnerships and funding in order to develop the tool. We are like at the University of Montreal, and you know universities are like not rich, they don't have money. So what we need is we need money, we need partnership in order to pilot this and further develop the tooling. So of course, this is the point to mention biases and challenges in AI. Some of them are like quite, we need to consider them. For example, in our context, the model cannot basically understand what a tactile feature space means. It cannot visualize. Or for example, how it can visualize how the surface material would be more suitable for someone who is in a wheelchair. And these are the biases that we need to be mindful of in the AI analysis. As well as like some of the examples of, for example, how typical biases are in these models. For example, when you write a toy in a Western context, the visualization is totally different. But when you write the same prompt, like for example, of Iraq, you might see gun toys, which are kind of complete and unbiased. And in our case, these are also some nuances. When you see, for example, we had some disagreement along like how the spaces are being visualized, and you might be able to see like that person who was on a wheelchair, that person systematically disagrees with how the space quality is visualized with respect to others. So we need to, if the AI model is being introduced in this space, then it needs to be mindful to consider the minority points of views. If not, then we're dealing with the same methods of just ignoring them. So this is my wonderful team that we're working with across Mila, across the University of Montreal. Shaban, Hugo, and Tumaler, and Evian, and Shen, and Alison. Shen is the principal investigator of these projects. And that's it. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Questions?
Thank you. We do actually have a couple minutes, but not a lot of time for questions. There's a microphone here in the middle. Please let us know for whom is the question.
This is Julia from C46. The question is for the last speaker, Rashid. I was just wondering if part of the work that you've been doing, what you explained right now, is if you're working with the city, in this case, if any policies have been developed based on the results of these examples that you were just sharing. That was super interesting, by the way.
Thank you for the question. Not yet. We haven't been able to work with cities so far. When it comes to consultations and when it comes to public space assessment, quality stuff like that, it's quite a bit challenge to get cities on board. But we have a community organization. The community organization that we outreached, that we reached out to, were who provides us with the citizen challenges, which we were able to collaborate with and who construct the animals to the represented there. There are like around 12 community organizations that we're working with, but not city. And we're aiming to work with the city as well, especially the places of interest in Quebec because we're seeking population, so we're trying to outreach.
Lindsay Tover with the Federation of Community Municipalities. And my question is for the heat mapping presentation. I'm curious to know a little bit more, and again, I'm sure this could be a presentation in and of itself, on the youth engagement strategies and how exactly did you engage youth in that project and how did it result in more uptake of the data?
Okay, thank you very much. So we have a process where we have formed groups which are chapters at various universities. So the idea is we find people who are interested in contributing to open source geospatial data, where we contribute to OpenStreetMap. And now we are going beyond. So initially 10 years ago, it started with there's no data. So let's contribute to open source geospatial data, but now we are taking the data, still contributing, but using the data for community engagement or for research. So that is how it is. So it's voluntary. When you have it in your chapter, there will be advertisement like, okay, we meet on these days to contribute to the data or to OpenStreetMap. There are days that you go to the field to gather other additional information. And so that's how we engage the youth in the mapping.
Hi, thank you so much for those presentations. I'm Ramazan Mehta with UN Habitat. My question is to Rashid, but also inspired by all of your presentation. At UN Habitat, one of the initiatives we're leading is called the Young Game Changers Initiative. And it's really about engaging young people to redesign public spaces, co-design public spaces. And I'm really curious when you think about inclusivity, you mentioned you're working across different groups, but have you looked into sort of inclusivity of specific marginalized communities, in this case, young people? And so I'm just curious about whether that's something you've thought about, women, refugees, young people, and, you know, sort of having a more specific assessment as you're doing, but for specific social groups, for example.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, that's really important. We try to address a few aspects of it. Among the collaborators that we have throughout the project, and we have at the moment, because some of the work that we're doing is still ongoing. It hasn't been done yet. So there are youths and there are other diversity markers, such as indigenous people who are from First Nations here in the city of Montreal. But what we're lacking is like really kids and teenagers, which you might feel you might find when they use urban spaces, there's somehow there's a kind of a clash sometimes between teenagers and elderly people with respect to space appropriation and use, how they prefer it, and how they identify spaces. So we haven't so far, we haven't been able to test those, and we're looking forward to. Yeah, thank you. Great.
I would just add that on the heat mapping, we're never looking at raw populations, we're always looking at particular cohorts, so we're just in vulnerable populations. And that's not our business to decide, right? It's the end user who decides, okay, these are the factors we want to build into our index, our heat index. But we're nearly always looking at the vulnerable population. Just a quick shout out, there'll be another session tomorrow at 3 o'clock where we'll be getting into more detail about interesting collaboration between UN Habitat and GCOM and SRE to move forward and do some more of these trainings in several places around the world. So talk more about that tomorrow. Okay, well, thank you very much to Rashid and to both, and thank you all for being here. We need to, I guess, move on to the next session.